Hi, I'm Annie Gishuru and welcome to Uplifting Studios TV. Here we share inspirational stories and provide some tips to help you unshackle your self-limiting beliefs. So if you're new here or are returning for this brand new season, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Today we meet a woman who is passionate about seeing justice for young people and being able to help them through difficult situations. Krista Dunstan is a Noongar lawyer who is using her work to help impact the lives of Aboriginal people here in Perth, Western Australia. Krista's life has not always been easy, and today we sit down with her as she shares her life story growing up in regional West Australia. Here is Krista's story.
I was born in Esperance down on the southwest coast of Western Australia, and I grew up in a largely single parent family with my younger sister. She was my only other sibling growing up, and my mum didn't finish high school. She did year 11, and then that became a huge sort of life regret as she saw how much it limited her opportunities. So she really installed in my sister and I that we had to push ourselves to get the highest education we could to give ourselves the most opportunities in life. While I had a really great immediate family around me to support me through my childhood, we certainly had some challenges. I grew up in a single parent family because my dad was violent, was a drug addict, and had some real challenges in that space. And because of that, I was exposed really early on to the legal system and, fights for custody and restraining orders and all those kinds of things. And that exposure was really hard, really challenging, but I guess what it really taught me was the importance in having a voice and speaking out when things are wrong, and that's something that I've taken with me into my life now. The question of Aboriginal identity in Australia is this really contested thing, and people have an image in their mind when they hear the word Aboriginal and what that means, and it's I guess unfortunate in the sense that it's stuck at a point in time. It's sort of that pre-contact idea of what an Aboriginal person is. You have to live in the bush. You can't enjoy kind of any of the amenities that we now have in sort of modern Australia. You have to have obviously very dark skin, very prominent features, and I definitely don't meet that description. So when people look at me and I say, very confidently and proudly that I'm a Noongar woman, I get a lot of questions from that. And it's always really interesting because, I guess I'm sort of got pale skin and all that sort of thing, but I'm sort of not non-Aboriginal in the sense that my viewpoint is Aboriginal, and I'm very much, understand, the things that culture has taught me about, where my values sit and what's important, and kind of how to approach life and country and the responsibilities that we all have to each other. And so I knew I was different. I knew that's where I fitted, but struggled to find an immediate connection to help me through that. And so it was actually my non-Indigenous grandfather who took me to the Bay of Isles Aboriginal Corporation and had me sit down with their board and understand where my family fits in and what the connection is and who the relationships are. And that was a really wonderful experience because it mapped out that, so my community does know who I am, and I do fit and I do belong, and I am a part of something. But in saying that, I was also very, very young, and so a lot of it went over my head, I think. And so I think it'll be a lifelong journey to continue that reconnection and be a part of the community. But it's something that I put a lot of time and effort into, is making sure that other Aboriginal people, particularly young people, have the same opportunities that I've had. I had that big education push. I, compared to others, I guess, enjoy public speaking. I don't know if anyone really loves it, but those sorts of things that give our people a voice and a framework to show who we are, I guess, and communicate that to the rest of Australia. So that mentoring and supporting others, because I understand how challenging I felt when I felt like I was on my own, and how much the mentors and supporters I've had have influenced me. I just want to give that back to others. I was in primary school. I was about 11 when I decided I wanted to do law. I had wanted to be an accountant until that point, and then I realised I was actually really bad at math. And so I had to come up with something else, and sort of the typical comments that come around people that often study law is, you like arguing and you like, having discussions about tough issues. And I thought, okay, maybe I could be a lawyer, like that's an acceptable career path. At that point in time, I think I was watching a lot of JAG as well, which made the law look really glamorous. You had your great suit, and having had that exposure to the legal system, I think I really understood from my perspective that lawyers are there to help people, to interpret a really complex system at a time when people are really struggling. That said, I knew I didn't want to do family or criminal law, because having had that exposure, I felt really biased in my views, and I didn't think I could do the best job there. I thought I'd probably project, my own perspective into other people's scenarios, and that's not appropriate. So I wanted to do corporate law. I wanted to make sure people had jobs and safety and security in their work. I wanted to make sure that, the bridges that we walk across are safe and impact people in that way. So I wanted to do a law career. I worked really hard throughout high school, and then I got to university and I got accepted into law, and I thought, oh geez, what if it's not what I thought it was? I haven't got a backup plan. And I panicked, but I was really lucky. I loved it. And in studying law, you sort of get exposed to human rights frameworks and what that means and how our society's built. And I think something that I really noticed early on is that the way we treat Aboriginal people in Australia is not the way that we treat Indigenous peoples in other countries. Yes, we have a lot of the same challenges and issues, but when I walked into an airport in America and it had sort of the tribal symbols that recognised the traditional owners there, that celebrated their culture, when I could see co-ops within the airport of local artists selling their wares and promoting their culture and being able to have that sort of economic opportunity and be really proud of who they were. I couldn't see those same opportunities here in Australia, and so I got really passionate about human rights. It was something I guess I'd experienced in my own life, that idea that things could be done to you without you having a say in it, without anyone sort of hearing your voice and that meaning something. And then I saw it more broadly for Aboriginal people in Australia, and it was something that I wanted to change. I guess I inherently felt it wasn't right. I could see that other countries were doing it better, not perfectly, but better. And I thought, we live in such a beautiful, clean, wealthy, healthy country. Why do we have these crazy systemic issues here? And how can we have Aboriginal people living with such poor health outcomes, in regionally remote communities? It just didn't seem right. And then even for myself, I knew I'd always been treated a little bit differently for identifying as Aboriginal. So I just wanted to do something about it. And the law degree and the experience at university and meeting other sort of like-minded people really gave me that confidence and that platform to do that. I guess I just wanted to make sure that other young people didn't go through the same challenges I went through. I want Aboriginal people to feel proud of who they are. I think we still haven't overcome those past policies. When I say we in that sense, I mean we as Australians, because I really think if you don't recognise Aboriginal people and the unique connection they have to this country and the amazing culture that we have to share, we're all losing. Self-limiting beliefs are something that's really rife in our community, and I think being a young woman has its own challenges and its own frameworks, and then you add Aboriginality on that and you just get another sort of layer of challenge, but also opportunity. I guess imposter syndrome is one I still struggle with, because I'm quite senior in my field, quite young, very passionate about the work that I do. I work with the Aboriginal Lands Trust Estate, which is 311 properties right across the state that were held on trust for Aboriginal people, but were never actually transitioned back to Aboriginal control. And that's part of my work now, is working out where communities are at, what they would like to do with their land, and how we best transition that land back to Aboriginal ownership and control. Whether that means sort of freehold properties and owning your own home, or whether that is big tracts of reserve for conservation management, and we see rangers programs and things these days. It's sort of quite varied, but you sort of come up against that in the space. You're a young female, you're an Aboriginal person, and it's like, oh, of course you think that, and of course you've got here because you're Aboriginal, or because you have a law degree, but not because you actually can offer anything. And so I really have to work through that, I think, pretty regularly around, why am I here, what am I doing, and what difference am I making? And I think those questions are really useful for me because, I'm here because I'm passionate and I want to make a difference. What am I doing? I'm, slaving away, really putting in the hard yards, working long hours, putting in the frameworks, developing the policies, having the conversations across government and across communities to make a difference. And what am I achieving? I have some really fantastic conversations where, I get to say that, we recognise the work that communities and community groups have been putting in, and we're going to support them, and that means handing land back and government not having control over that anymore. And those are really powerful conversations. So when I reflect back on that, I realise that my participation does make a difference and I am there for a reason. And you know, when you start to see that get some momentum and build some excitement in community, then you know that it's of value. And so it doesn't matter if someone's sort of challenging me at a personal level, because I know that I'm there for the right reasons and I'm achieving something.
I met Krista, I think it was back in about 2011. Chevron advertised for our Aboriginal cadetship program, and Krista actually applied for that and was successful in a role with our corporate affairs team. It was a 3-month placement, and it was on the job training, and she did really, really well. Krista is an amazing individual, and her energy, her drive, her focus to really make change for Aboriginal people in the right way is just fantastic. She consults at grassroots level. She makes all the connections that she does to make sure that she has the right input when she drives or gives advice or guidance. So, and she's built her credibility over time with very senior Aboriginal leaders within our community to do that as well. So, one day I do see Krista up there as one of these very high-profile Aboriginal leaders, not on just a state level but a national level in our community, that is there backing Aboriginal, you know, what we need to do, what the right thing is, how we make change, how we move the needle in what we do. I see Krista in that very influential role, as I said, on a national level. Well, you know, you can set your mind to anything. Just believe in yourself. I know that people think, oh, I've got it hard, I can't do, how can I be like that person? But people do look up at Krista and think, you know, she has come through some really hard times, but it's purely persistence, hard work, and she puts in the hard yards to get where she has. But, you know, for other women, what I would say is definitely believe in yourself, set your mind to that, know that you can achieve anything if you believe in it. Surround yourself with good people that believe in you and see greatness in you when you don't see it in yourself. That is really important. So surround yourself with those sorts of people instead of the negativity, and really push through. It is hard. As you know, I've grown up in a very similar sort of environment where, you know, we grew up in poverty, and, you know, I had both parents that were unemployed. But, you know, do you want to be like that, or do you want to make change, or do you want to help people? You set your mind to things and you can achieve it. You really can achieve it. Krista, you are absolutely amazing at what you do, and I'm so proud of you for how far you've come in your life and what you've achieved and the barriers that you've pushed through. Just keep doing the amazing work that you do every day to change people's lives for the better. And I'll always be here for you for support and with anything that you need, because you are a real true champion of our people and a true young leader that people look up to and aspire to. So keep doing what you're doing. You're an amazing individual that is loved by many within our community.
A lot of the things I've achieved, a lot of the opportunities I've had, I didn't see coming. And it was a result of sort of genuinely engaging with people across community, across various sort of organisational spaces, and latching on and jumping onto those opportunities as they came up. And they've been some of the best things I've done, like going to the UN in Geneva. That was what started as a presentation at my university, I think probably around Human Rights Week, talking about the impact of the criminal system on young people, and, you know, things like child rights when you're talking about parental access and those kinds of things, and how my experience was that young people didn't have a voice in that. From there I met the then Children's Commissioner of Western Australia, who then introduced me to the NGO, the Child Rights Task Force, and they were preparing the non-government response to the Conventions on the Rights of the Child and Australia's performance there. So it was sort of this knock-on effect that I could never have predicted, but it was such an amazing experience. So when I look at the future, I think, oh, am I limiting myself if I set myself on a pathway? Because I'm very driven and very focused, and so I guess that is a great thing, but can also be a risk if you get too narrow in your focus, and it means that you say no to opportunities that you should say yes to. I also, I guess, don't take things for granted. My mum and my sister have both had really significant health issues. My sister is much younger than me and is an absolute champion and has really overcome some just crazy physical challenges to do what she does every day. Yeah, I think for any young person who's looking at the world and seeing that it's a big, daunting, challenging and complex space, and kind of wondering where they fit in with it and how they engage with it, I probably have two messages. I think the first one is never give up. I struggled really significantly with mental health in my early years because I wasn't finding the support that I needed and was finding the challenges overwhelming. And I look back at that now and it just seems like such a distant memory. I think the importance is to keep pushing through those challenges, take them as lessons, take the positives where you can, be kind to yourself. And the second one is you can achieve anything you set your mind to. And I know that sounds really cliche, but it's because it's true. I grew up, far away from Perth City. No one in my immediate family had been to university. I had a single parent family that really struggled financially. We'd had all the challenges around domestic violence and things. And so nothing was ever handed to me. But, I had really strong people around me who encouraged me, who believed in me. And at some point, I started to believe in myself, and I've continued to push those boundaries and push back on those perceptions that people have of you or those limitations that people try to place on you. And I think if you never let them kind of really get to you, if you never let them push you aside from where you were trying to get to, you will get there. And it's not easy. Like, there are always setbacks. I think my CV looks quite glossy on a piece of paper. It's just like, yes, it was just all ticks along the way, but it certainly wasn't that in reality. It's a constant push and a constant struggle, and always reassessing what you're doing and what it means and whether you think you can do it. If you keep believing in yourself and you keep pushing, you will absolutely get there. My name is Krista Dunstan. I'm a proud Noongar woman from the southwest of Western Australia, and this is Uplifting Studios.
Krista's story is a reminder of the strength of the human spirit when we're faced with adversity and the ability to rise up. Krista has been able to unshackle her self-limiting beliefs and become the star that she is today and the person who is making the difference that she is in our city of Perth. Krista's story is an example of the many stories we share here on Uplifting Studios TV to inspire you to be everything you were created to be. As a life coach, I work with women from underrepresented backgrounds who are ready to unshackle their self-limiting beliefs and begin to create new positive stories for themselves. So if this is you and you know your life would benefit from working with a life coach, then visit upliftingstudios.com.au and sign up for your free initial consult with me. I can't wait to hear from you. I'm Annie Gishuru. Thank you so much for watching Uplifting Studios TV, and remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, take care.